For 19 years, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were held up as proof that a marriage could survive Hollywood and Nashville at the same time. Two careers, two industries, two very different worlds, and somehow it worked. Or at least, that's what the world was allowed to see. Then, in the fall of 2025, the illusion ended. A divorce filing, a one-day gap between the news breaking and the paperwork landing, and a quiet unraveling that had, according to people close to the couple, been building for far longer than anyone on the outside realized. This is not a story built on invented dialogue or imagined scenes. Every detail here comes from court filings, statements the two of them actually made, and reporting from outlets that cover the divorce in real time. People, TMZ, Fox News, News, Variety, and others, where something is speculation or comes from an anonymous source. That will be flagged clearly, because the difference between what's confirmed and what's rumored is a whole point. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban met in 2005 at a gala celebrating Australian talent in Los Angeles. She was an Oscar-winning actress rebuilding her life after her divorce from Tom Cruise. He was a country singer with a string of hits and a well-documented struggle with substance abuse. They married in June 2006 in Sydney, and just months into marriage, Urban checked himself into rehab for alcohol addiction, a fact he has spoken about publicly many times over the years, crediting Kidman with standing by him through it. They went on to have two daughters, Sunday Rose, born in 2008, and Faith Margaret, born in 2010. For most of the next 2 decades, they were fixtures at award shows and premieres, frequently photographed holding hands, and often praised in interviews as each other's biggest supporters. That public image held for a very long time. What changed in 2025 was not a single event. It was a slow surfacing of distance that, according to later reporting, had been growing for months. According to News, Kidman and Urban had privately separated and were living apart starting at the beginning of summer 2025, months before anything became public. During that stretch, Kidman was in London filming Practical Magic 2 alongside Sandra Bullock, Joey King, and Maisie Williams. She later described that set as a place where she felt supported, telling reporters she felt protected and looked after by her castmates during that period, a detail that, in hindsight, lines up with a woman going through something difficult behind the scenes. Back in the United States, Urban was on tour, and in an interview clip that aired just weeks after the divorce became public, filmed months earlier, before the split was announced, Urban spoke candidly about how isolating touring can be. He described waking up on a tour bus in the middle of the night, exhausted, sick, and far from people he loved, and questioning why he kept doing it. The interview wasn't about his marriage. It was about the physical and emotional toll of life on the road. But the timing meant it landed very differently than it would have a year earlier. News of the separation broke on September 29, 2025. The very next day, September 30th, Kidman filed for divorce in Davidson County, Tennessee. That one-day gap is one of the most concrete, verifiable facts in the entire story, and it says something on its own. This wasn't a slow leak that built over weeks of tabloid speculation. It was separation confirmed, divorce filed, almost immediately after. The filing itself cited irreconcilable differences and referenced marital difficulties as the grounds for ending the marriage. Kidman listed September 30th, the date of filing, as the official date of separation, even though the couple had reportedly been apart since early summer. Here's where the story becomes more interesting than a typical celebrity split. The paperwork wasn't the beginning of a fight. It was closer to a formality. Reports from TMZ indicated that a custody and parenting agreement had already been worked out well before Kidman filed. Notarized signatures on the documents were dated weeks apart. Urban's dated August 29th, and Kidman's dated September 6th, meaning both of them had signed off on the terms nearly a month before the divorce was formally filed with the court. In other words, the negotiations had already happened quietly. The public filing was a final, official step. Kidman requested to be named primary residential parent of their two daughters, and the parenting plan reflected that 306 days a year with their mother, 59 days a year with their father, roughly translating to Urban having the girls every other weekend under the agreement. Both parents waived spousal support. Child support was set at 0. Neither of them, by every account, was fighting over money. Both have substantial independent fortunes, and the settlement reflected two people trying to divide a life quickly and privately rather than publicly. Almost immediately after the split became public, rumors began to circulate about Urban's personal life. Fox News reported that sources close to Kidman suggested there were signs pointing toward Urban being involved with someone else, though it was also reported that Kidman herself was described as shocked by it rather than expecting it. Separately, TMZ and other outlets picked up talk that a new relationship was, in the words of unnamed sources, common knowledge around Nashville. Then came the moment that turned rumor into headline. In September, during a live performance, Urban altered the lyrics of one of his own songs, The Fighter, in a way that fans and press widely interpreted as a shout-out to guitarist Maggie Baugh, who had been performing with him. Speculation exploded, but it didn't hold up. Baugh's friend, fellow country artist Alexander Kay, went on the record on a radio appearance in October to say directly that a romance between Baugh and Urban was not true. Urban himself addressed the swirling gossip from the stage a few weeks later, telling a crowd at a concert to stop reading things into his song choices that weren't there. So, while the rumor cycle was real and heavily covered, the specific claim about Baugh was denied by someone directly connected to her, which is an important distinction between what actually happened and what got amplified in the moment. For months after filing, Kidman said almost nothing publicly about the divorce. She continued working, continued being photographed with her daughters, and declined to comment when asked directly. That changed in March 2026, when she gave her first interview addressing the split, speaking with Variety. She didn't go into details. Asked about the past year, she described it plainly, saying she had been quiet, that she had other things going on, and that she had been in her shell. A short, three-word phrase that captures the tone of the entire period better than any speculation could. When pressed further, she made clear she wasn't going to discuss the specifics, framing it as a matter of respect, and choosing instead to talk about her daughters and about staying focused on what she called moving toward what's good. That restraint has been one of the most consistent threads in how Kidman has handled the entire situation. No public statement calling Urban out. No interview picking apart what went wrong. Just a repeated emphasis, in a handful of comments she has made, on protecting her daughters and moving forward without turning the divorce into a public spectacle. The divorce was finalized on January 6, 2026, roughly 3 months after Kidman's initial filing. A notably fast turnaround for a marriage of nearly 20 years, which lines up with reporting that the two had already agreed on major terms before anything became public. The finalized parenting plan kept the earlier custody arrangement in place, the girls living primarily with their mother, spending alternating weekends with their father, with both parents jointly responsible for major decisions in their daughters' lives. The agreement also included language committing both parents to avoid speaking negatively about each other in front of the children and to actively encourage the girls to maintain strong relationships with both sides of the family. There was no courtroom drama, no public dispute over assets, and no last-minute reversal. By all reporting, this was two people ending a marriage in the most controlled way a high-profile divorce can end. In the months following the finalized divorce, Kidman has been photographed repeatedly with Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret at Paris Fashion Week in October 2025, at a Sabrina Carpenter concert in Nashville, and in a New Year's Instagram post from Sydney Harbor where she wrote about looking forward to 2026. The tone of her public presence since the split has been consistent, family-focused, low-key, and notably absent of any attempt to publicly relitigate what happened in the marriage. Urban, for his part, has continued touring and released new music, and premiered a competition series called The Road on CBS in October 2025. He has not given a detailed public account of the marriage's end either, beyond addressing the rumor cycle around his own lyrics from the stage. Strip away the tabloid noise, and the confirmed facts are these. The couple secretly separated by early summer 2025. Kidman filed for divorce the day after the split was made public. The custody and financial terms had already been privately negotiated before that filing, and the divorce was finalized quietly just over 3 months later with Kidman as primary parent to their 2 daughters. What remains genuinely unconfirmed, despite how much was written about it, is exactly why the marriage ended. No detailed public breakdown, no tell-all interview, no confirmed account from either Kidman or Urban about what specifically drove them apart. The closest thing to insight either of them has given is Urban's comments about the isolation of touring, and Kidman's brief admission that the past year have been quiet and difficult for her privately. Everything beyond that, the specific rumors, the anonymous insider quotes, the theories about who did what, falls into the category of tabloid speculation rather than confirmed fact, and it's worth treating it that way. What the record does show clearly is two people who built a life together for nearly 2 decades, who appear to have ended it with more privacy and cooperation than most divorces of the scale, and who have both in their own ways chosen not to turn their daughters' lives into a public battleground. That, more than any rumor, is the part of this story that's actually been confirmed. This script is based on verified reporting from People, TMZ, Fox News, News, Variety, InStyle, and other outlets covering the Kidman-Urban divorce between September 2025 and March 2026. Claims attributed to anonymous insiders are noted as unconfirmed speculation rather than established fact.